All right, welcome back. Just Harmless Dave here, talking about real stuff. Tulsi Gabbard this time. Tulsi Gabbard at CPAC. Now, I know I have some detractors or people who say to me, Dave, you know, you're good up until you started talking about Tulsi Gabbard. These are mostly people that have come over from the music channel or who are new to my philosophy when it comes to politics. I don't put myself in a category when it comes to politics. I listen, and then I may change my mind. And by the way, I've been attacked for constantly changing my mind. That's one of the things that certain people don't like about me, that I'm open to certain things and I might change my opinion. And, you know, I'm just trying to gain traction or whatever it is. I've already gained traction. I don't need traction. What I need is a philosophy which can unite people and also is truthful and honest. And I think what's happening is so many people understand that it's really just about, at this point, it's about freedom and liberty and common sense and getting to the truth and bypassing the media. There are certain things that I think everybody, I can watch Jimmy Dore one day and I can watch Tucker Carlson one day, and there's so much commonality, even though I know they disagree on some stuff. And Tulsi Gabbard, obviously going to CPAC, she's probably going to disagree with some folks who are in Conservative Incorporated, which I'm not a member of, right? I'm not a member. I'm a reluctant Republican because there's really nothing left that is going to gain traction. Because guess what? Do I want to gain traction? Yeah, I do. I want a political philosophy that gains traction, or a big enough tent where you can have somebody over here like a neocon. By the way, the neocons are on their way out. They just are. But they're in this tent. And it's up to us to get in the tent and kick out all of the warmongers, all of the Liz Cheney types, all of the people who say that they're for all these things and then they don't do any of them. The difference between a lot of Republicans who talk a good game and Tulsi Gabbard is that Tulsi Gabbard means it. I think she really means it. Now, people will say, oh, well, she endorsed Biden, but then what did she do? And this is important because I was angry when she endorsed Joe Biden too. She went on the attack. As soon as Biden, you know, took the oath of office, not too long after it, the attacks started coming, and they've been nonstop ever since. And yeah, her nemesis, Kamala Harris, who's lecturing the world, hey man, this is hey guys. Kamala Harris actually said, hey guys, this is like war in like Europe, man. This is bad. This is like, could be a war. Guys, do you understand? We haven't been in a war for a long time over here. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, triple facepalm, right? So, but that's the vice president of the United States. And she was picked. She was handpicked for this job because there had to be somebody out there who would make Biden look smarter. And yes, they achieved the goal. So long as Joe can continue talking, he does appear, and I do mean that in the lightest sense, that he does appear to be smarter than Kamala Harris. But let's get back to Tulsi. Tulsi gives this electrifying speech where, quite honestly, I heard terms that need to be heard more often. Things like liberty, freedom, common sense, going after the national security state, understanding that it's us against them. And that means, you know, whether you're a conservative, a progressive, a middle of the road type person, you don't really know, you don't identify with any political philosophy, you have little bits and pieces of this and that. That's kind of where I've always been at. I guess I'm more comfortable as a libertarian than anything else, but there are days where I go, okay, good point about, you know, people not having clean water. Is that libertarian? I don't know. That is like a progressive championing thing. Or good point over here about the southern border, for instance. That's a conservative thing, right? That they want, you know, the borders, and some people think, oh, just let them in, it's going to be great, and it's cheap labor, and you know, if they want to work, so be it, you know. And I'm just like, okay, but still, you need some kind of tracking for, I mean, look, you get into this argument where if I say you need to track these people, then it's just like Big Brother government. I mean, it's kind of like if somebody comes into your house and, hey, who are you? I'm just here visiting. I'm just going to grab these Ritz crackers over here, and then I'm going to leave. I'm like, oh, okay, well, have a great time. I mean, look, we have to deal in realville, okay? And if your community is getting destroyed and fentanyl is coming into the country and human trafficking is really the main motivation for most of what's going on down there, or a big motivation, then you have to have some way to mitigate the problem. Tulsi Gabbard actually believed in the Remain in Mexico idea, which I think that's a good idea. Hey, you stay there until we can verify everything. And then once you're verified, we'll wave you in. It's kind of like the airplane, circling the runway. Eventually we will wave you in, but not yet. And we're the sovereign country, so we tell you when. It's my house. If I want to let you in the house, the door is locked. I will unlock the door when I feel comfortable doing that. So my political philosophy is always evolving. It's never settled. It's like the science is settled. My politics is never settled. It just is an ongoing thing. And, like 20 years ago, I thought unions were really, really bad. Now, based on all the mandates and edicts and things, and unions are running into their own supporters, the people, the overlords who think unions are a great thing. And they're saying, hey, unions, you can unionize, but not on this particular issue or problem. And then I'm like, maybe unions aren't a bad idea. Maybe we should be fighting for our rights, especially in the workplace. And that doesn't sound like a very conservative thing, right? And maybe it is, maybe it's not. But we're in the age of oligarchy and corporatocracy and monopolies and all these different ways that are things that are not the free market. The free market run amok without any checks or balances, and people basically using that as an excuse as to why they can do everything. So anyway, getting back to the Tulsi Gabbard speech, one of the best speeches I've heard in a long time. It was unifying. It was truthful. It focuses a lot on the freedoms that we're losing, our privacy, the national security state. She just hammered for about 25 minutes, all of these points. And you're on the edge of your seat the whole time. I mean, I was, and I'm already a fan. So yeah, is there a bias there? Yeah. But she could have gone in there and tried to, talk about things the audience might feel uncomfortable with. I think what's happened is that Tulsi Gabbard, her philosophy might be different than some of these Republicans and some of these so-called conservatives. But when it comes to the big, I always say this, the big ticket issues and problems, Tulsi Gabbard is right there. In fact, in some ways, she's far more clear-eyed than most of Congress and most politicians in general. She understands that we can't have this country if we don't have basic human rights and we're not following the Constitution of the United States. She talks a lot about, dissent and how, hey, remember when the Dixie Chicks did the dissent thing and everybody blew up at them? And I was probably one of them at the time, because I've changed. This is evolution, folks. You look at me and you say, yeah, Dave, you've devolved, right? That's fine. I can take a hint and a joke, right? So the point being is the Dixie Chicks at the time, they were banned off of country radio and they did a lot of crazy things. But were they right? Were they right about, did they go about it maybe the wrong way? I don't know. The point is they were right. Okay, they were right about dissent. And I remember the people on the left at the time said that dissent was patriotic. See, here was the big problem. It wasn't a war that was really a left-wing war. It wasn't a Democrat war. It was a George W. Bush, Dick Cheney engineered war. And I think the Dems were just ticked off that they didn't think of it. They didn't think of it first. And, they were trying to stop it for a little while, but then they took all of that craziness. Obama was supposed to be a rejection of Bush, and, Maybe we're not going to do all. And Obama gave speeches about, hey, we should probably lay off the interventions. And what did he do? The same amount, if not more interventions. Tulsi Gabbard represents an end to the military-industrial complex as we know it. Now, ending it and representing an end to it are two different things. And it's going to be really hard for Tulsi Gabbard to get in there and actually change the system if she were ever elected to the presidency. And people who had faith in Donald Trump, oh, he's going to drain the swamp. Nope, he did not drain the swamp. He attempted to do a few things here and there. He came closer maybe than any president in recent memory. My point is, it's not easy to do. And some people are very black-pilled on this and are like, it's already gone. The president isn't running the show. And we know Sleepy Joe ain't running the show. That, it's Valerie Jarrett or whoever it is. It's somebody who is in Obama's inner circle who's calling out Susan Rice, somebody like that, who's just putting this stuff out there. I mean, you got Tony Blinken in there. That should tell you a lot about the foreign policy and what to expect going forward. And again, on the Ukraine thing, and I'll probably wrap with this because this could be a video in and of itself, but here's where I'm wrong probably about Ukraine and Russia. Maybe I'm giving Russia too much credit for not being the provocateur over the last 8 years or whatever it's been since Ukraine was like reformulated and they had a government, they had a very corrupt government. Then the two provinces to the east, Putin basically recognized those two provinces, and then all hell breaks loose. And then he says, look, I'm tired of these people in these two areas who are more loyal to us. I'm tired of them getting shot at, getting killed, much like what happens in Syria, much like what happens between the Israelis and the Palestinians. Very, very similar. And rather than standing by, Putin has decided to basically take the country. And do I agree with that? No, I don't agree with that, but I understand it. And we could have easily prevented this with diplomacy and with sort of a stronger approach to the entire region and understanding that the United States, we're partly to blame for all of this because of what we've done in Ukraine for quite a long time now. And especially since 2014, when McCain and Obama and all these people went in there and basically propped up some very nefarious characters. Some people call them neo-Nazis. Tulsi Gabbard addressed that. First thing she said is, war is bad. I don't care what anybody who realizes and watches those pictures coming in and they're thinking, well, Russia said they wouldn't hit civilian targets. Well, they said they wouldn't. Doesn't mean they didn't. Doesn't mean that it wasn't collateral damage, because it's really hard to aim very large weapons so nobody dies, right? If it's a military installation and it's close to a school or close to a restaurant or something, there's a good chance that somebody's going to die in that attack. So war sucks. It sucks. Is this war justified? No, but it's understandable why it's occurring. And there are so many things that could have been done to prevent it. And Tulsi Gabbard said so in her speech. She's my favorite politician. She's not currently in elected office. So technically she can't be my favorite. She can only be my favorite spokesperson for liberty, freedom, common sense, and understanding everybody's rights, their civil rights, their rights to a fair and speedy trial. A spare trial too would be nice if the first one didn't work out. The point I'm trying to make is she focuses on the big items, right? She's not talking about qualified immunity. She's not talking about legalizing certain drugs. What she's talking about, folks, is what's really important to most Americans right now. Dissent is a thing. The truckers in Canada had a point. The truckers going across the United States right now, they have a point. And hopefully they're going to make a point. I'm hoping and praying it's not a trap, okay? That's the one thing, And Mike Cernovich, I think, said it might be a trap. And these people are, because he's got intel and he thinks it's really stupid. And, you know, look what they did up in Canada. Look what Trudeau did to the truckers in Canada. And Tulsi, by the way, really took Trudeau out back to the woodshed. I mean, it was awesome. And what I like about her is she's sincere. She's genuine. She doesn't sound like a fake politician whatsoever. She's talking. She's conversational. She's relatable. She's sympathetic. I can go through the entire list. This is why on paper, right, I think she's way better than Donald Trump. But Donald Trump is a cult of personality. People like the bombast. People like Trump when he starts yelling and telling the media that they're fake news and so forth. But we have to do it all. We can't just do the bombast. We have to be able to relate to people of all ages, all creeds, all colors, and we have to get in there and we have to tell it like it is. And I think Tulsi Gabbard does that better than pretty much everybody. So anyway, you can disagree. I got people keep fact checking saying she's a member of the World Economic Forum, the Council on Foreign Relations. She's a charter member. They love her. She's one of the young leaders. Really? She just blasted one of their young leaders, Trudeau, because that Trudeau and Klaus Schwab, they're like buddies, right? So Tulsi gets up there. First thing, one of the first things in the speech is Trudeau. He's a tyrant. And people understand that if you're serious about liberty and freedom, you can't be up there praising Trudeau for his authoritarian activities. Tulsi Gabbard is not an authoritarian. And those people early on maybe saw her as somebody they could mold and shape, but I think she's off the reservation. I don't think she can be shaped and molded in the image of Klaus Schwab, which is good because Klaus isn't the most attractive human being you'll see. So in any event, that's my video. Go watch the speech. It's worth it. If you're left, right, I know some of the lefties are going to get uncomfortable with this speech, and the righties are going to be like, how come she just doesn't join, just join the Republican Party or whatever party? I don't think anybody really likes the uniparty in general. And there are only a handful of Republicans that do anything significant to slow this train of authoritarianism. They do very little. And they talk a good game, but at the end of it all, you're like, okay, I just donated to this campaign, and this person really isn't doing what they said they were going to do. With Trump, you got some of that, but then they hamstrung him. He should have started firing people left and right. They would have called him some kind of an authoritarian for him doing what presidents normally do. Like, hey, these people don't fit my philosophy here, so bye-bye. But he was afraid. He was going to, lose friends. And he got really bad advice. I hear all the excuses. We don't need excuses. We need to take our power back. And Tulsi Gabbard said, the power is with us. It's not with the government. And we all know this stuff, but yet everything kind of stays the same. So yeah, CPAC and Tulsi Gabbard, fantastic speech. Go watch it.